Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lemongrass Roots, the podcast series where we talk about all things SAP. Today, I'm delighted to have with me one of my great colleagues, Mayak, who runs our data team. And today, we're going to talk about something that I think is kind of really important to SAP customers, which is the SAP BDC and the impact that has on evolving your data platform. I certainly know that lots of customers have been asking questions in detail about BDC, so I thought this could be a great topic for our podcast. And Mike has got a lot of direct experience with customers on what BDC means, what the impact is to those enterprises, and how do you make that transformation. So, Mike, thanks very much for joining us today.
Hi, Eamon. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So, Mike, let's kick off by talking about the evolution of data architecture. And we all know there's new tools that are being released by SAP and, of course, by a lot of non-SAP partners. Can you talk us through your perspective on the history of this and where are we today?
Sure, Eamon. Hello, everybody, again. First of all, let me quickly give a little bit of background about me, because I've seen this evolution working in the industry for last 22 years. The key thing to note here is there are a couple of things happening. One is, of course, the evolution of the infrastructure behind and the architecture behind the data ecosystem, and second is the evolution of AI, right? So let's talk, what used to exist. So if we go back, 20 years, our entire data ecosystem or data analytics was based on classic data warehouse concepts, where you used to have storage and compute together, right? And if I call out my experience working at that time, it was, we used to run ETL like for hours, right? Some ETL was 18 hours, 20 hours. We were processing data, merging ERP data with non-ERP data to generate some insights. And there was classic dashboards, for business which consumes not in real time, but, with a lag, with static dashboards they used to see to take business decisions. And that was the classic, let's say traditional data warehouse architecture. And we used to build data marts, specific to a business domain, for example, order to cash or procurement pay. Uh, if you see a decade back, or so, 10, 15, 10 years or 15 years back, what has started is a lake house concept, or before lake house came into picture, big data, right? So there was volume, velocity, variety of data, because of consumption by users, right? So you have mobile devices and whatnot. Even, industries wanted to analyze sensor data, for example. So there was a requirement to store unstructured data. So combine ERP data and unstructured data together. And that's where the architecture evolved of segregating storage and compute. That's where Hadoop came into picture. I worked in the one of the pioneers in Hadoop, called Hortonworks, and at that time we used to deploy like swarms of servers in the data centers, right? Thousands of servers for banking, for pharmaceutical, and segregating, and it was all commodity hardware, right? But again, the key thing was process big data at scale and build dashboards. And there was, of course, a bit of AI and machine learning involved, but the key outcome was same, right? Then if you see the evolution, evolved from lake house architecture to now we are calling it as a data fabric. And this is a slide from SAP, which is, if you see going back to BW, then data sphere and data warehouse, cloud world, and now we are talking about a BDC. And fabric concepts more relies on, let's build that knowledge layer. That's a core thing. Let's build the semantic layer, which basically gives a single definition to business. How you consume data becomes kind of a template, right? Whether you want to consume using natural language, whether you want to consume your static dashboard, whether you want to do a self-service analytics, or whether you provide intelligent applications means, out of the box insights for specific business domain or a process, right? And that's where key fundamental is, and focus across the industry is building this core knowledge layer, which combines both ERP data, non-ERP data, sensor data together, right? And that's a fundamental shift happening right now, and that's what you see the BDC ecosystem, how it is now is more open, right? Open to partnerships with Databricks, Snowflake, Palantir coming in. So various, ecosystem can coexist and help build that knowledge layer.
That's really interesting because I think, I recall for sure, the days when RDBMSs were the king and, writing SQL queries, like I'm sure a lot of people have done. And to me, the transformation to data lakes was quite a big thing. But fundamentally, the same problems were trying to be addressed, but with better technology. So cheaper storage, cheaper
Yes.
compute, bigger scale, and as you rightly say, it's unstructured data, everything could be brought together. But it's really intriguing that this is another generation. It's not just um, a tweak on that layer. You've now introduced a new capability with Gen AI, which I think is super exciting. Um, and I think this is probably one of the specific differences that we're going to start seeing now is that there's more flexibility, as you mentioned, in how you get at that data, and it gives you many more options of giving insights to many more people. Again, one of the things that I suspect, maybe you can tell me if this is true, is that this opens the door to more people in the enterprise to get at their data. Is that correct, or do you think it's still very much a data analytics team that sort of sits on top of those dashboards?
No, no, you're right. The key idea is, if you see across the industries, and when I speak with enterprise, one of the vision they have is self-service analytics, like giving, giving that data products, what we call, to end users, so business users, so they can build their own reports, right? It's no more let IT take the ownership of building. Even if we see the evolution, leveraging agentic AI and all, the transformation layer is being replaced by automation, where you say, okay, by the way, can you add this particular KPI to me, and then
Mhm.
it is automatically doing the job. So IT is of course plays a very crucial role in building and validating that, but giving giving access to the business users to build their own report and generate insights faster is where industry is going. Yes.
So maybe let's talk about some of those other benefits because I think you've done this nice slide of looking at the changes for both business and for IT. So maybe you can double click on that a little bit first.
Sure, sure. So most of the times, I've seen across the enterprises a lot of programs. In if you go granular, is IT driven, what we call, but always it needs to be from business lens, or business wants to use that ID, right? So it is important to analyze from both lenses, right? And most of the time, even though it is, let's say, IT driven transformation, business is involved, right? Unless and until you give something and for consumption, there is no meaning, and the ROI and the value is not justified, right? And that's where we are working with enterprises to see that what do these two lenses look like, right? So if you see from IT, and pick up, let's say, few measures, what's the cost involved, and IT focuses on technical debt. We have customers with different warehouses, for example, right? BW, SQL Server, Hadoop platforms, and all these are distributed in its own, small domain areas, or functionality, right? The key thing is, how do we bring this together? So we need to consolidate. So from IT point of view, the focus is reducing the technical debt, right? How do we kind of consolidate this? But if you see from business lens point of view, what they are worried about is data silos, semantics. We just talked about the value lies in how fast you can make a decision. Okay, so it's not, the focus is not consolidation, even though, for IT, you need to consolidate from business point of view. I need a single KPI definition so I can query, for example, gross margin calculation, right? I need a single definition across the board in the whole company. Okay, so that's where, if you go to next, let's say goal, what is the goal here? If you talk to IT or data organization, they'll say, okay, I want to build a data fabric, an AI foundation, for example, a hybrid ecosystem where BDC and my cloud data platform, works together, so I can leverage SAP data, non-SAP data, and give this to business. But from business point of view, they are worried about the insights. We just talked about self-service analytics. I just need clean, governed data so I can trace back from where data is coming across. That's what the focus is. If you see on IT side, a shift is happening. The focus was building the pipeline. How can we build a pipeline to transform data, combine data set together, and offer you as a data mart for business to consume. Now the focus is more on data products. Now, when you talk about data products and data products architecture, business involvement becomes crucial because business now owns data definition and quality. IT builds and governs pipeline, but business, domain experts or users owns that. Okay, this is my finance, for example, finance community. Here is, data products for finance, right? And if you talk about last measure, or how do you measure this from both sides point of view, it's more on SLAs, right? If you talk about IT, pipeline consolidation, and providing faster product deployment for businesses. But what business is interested in, I want real-time insight now, right? I want to accelerate time to insight. Can I trust my data? Big question, so without consolidating, without providing all of these, governance layer from IT point of view, business won't be able to do. So I think it's important to understand from both lens point of view whenever you do data modernization, and involvement of business becomes crucial, because you cannot consolidate your thousands of reports you have built, without knowing what are the critical reports from business, right? And how do we serve in the new ecosystem.
That's great examples. And, like we've even seen that even in lemongrass, where
Yes.
we're trying to um, give to, for example, our project managers, our delivery teams, our sales guys, the ability to generate their own insights from the
Yes.
data. And the first thing that pops up is my input data accurate now? And as you rightly say, it pushes the pressure back on the people who maintain that, because ultimately, the accuracy of that data directly impacts the speed at which you can do your insights. So we certainly see that, and again across larger enterprises, this problem magnifies. Um, but I can certainly see that those outcomes, and we all are impressed with the ability of Gen AI to derive insights from data that we've never really thought of before. So, the value of this is super exciting. Um, if we look at some examples, though, of course, of the challenges, because I think everybody loves this idea, but there are a number of risks and challenges that you've come across in your work with Lemongrass. So maybe talk us through some of these examples, and how do you get over those?
Sure. So I think to understand, risk and challenges, we have to see what is the customer journey look like, right? If you see categorize customers, what they are doing in terms of SAP data modernization, there are two categories of customer. One is they are taking a two-step approach, right? Moving to cloud ERP, so keeping ECC as it is. And second category of customer who are doing moving to cloud, but at the same time doing S4 transformation, right? And that's where all the risks and challenges look like. So going to rise along with S4, or going to rise with existing ECC, right? So and from analytics point of view, these are main kind of categories we have identified from risk and challenges point of view. So first category is data extraction strategy. So it is basically, and I'll talk from both, like from IT lens point of view. What does it mean? Customers have built legacy extractors to pull in data from, let's say, ECC, ECC to BW, ECC to different platform, ECC to SQL Server, and they have built in custom ABAP extractors and leveraged different kind of tools, ETL tools per se, to extract data and then use in other ecosystem to transform it, right? Now, if you see the extraction, is kind of divided, and they have got various different tools. How do we consolidate this, right? What is a compliant way to do this? Is within the BDC ecosystem we talk about, are there any ready-made, for example, building a finance data model in S4, is it wise to pull in all data into the new ecosystem and build there? Or is it some out of the box, data products available by SAP which can be leveraged, which is cost effective way to do it? So extraction strategy becomes crucial both in terms of compliance, both in terms of consolidation of legacy extractors, and how do we do it in a cost-effective way.
Just on that point, Mike, the can you explain what the data product is versus the extractor? Because I think that might be a new term for some of the listeners as well.
Sure. So data extraction strategy is how do I get data out of the, let's say, ECC ecosystem into analytics ecosystem. So,
Mhm.
for example, I want to get finance data out. Okay, I want to get master data out, so I can combine with some other data set in the other ecosystem to generate new insights, right? So to pull in that, there are various tools available. There are for example, boards is data services from SAP to pull in data from ECC onto other ecosystem, and then customer combine with other data sets to generate insights, right? Now, data product is fundamentally basically building a domain specific data sets which is self-governed, okay, to be easy for consumption by business users, right? So if we take an example, inventory data product, for example, or finance data product, so you have all the necessary data required, and what SAP has done is they provide out of the box data products in BDC ecosystem. So you do not need to worry about extracting data into analytics layer, combining data sets together, and then providing a layer for consumption. So it is automatically done, and you can subscribe to a specific data product in BDC ecosystem.
Okay.
Um, I'll give you an example for data extraction study. We are working with one of the FMCG customers who have got like thousands of extractors built using an ETL tool to pull data from not only ECC ecosystem but from BW ecosystem into their cloud data platform, where they're combining with other non-SAP data and generating AI models and insights, right? Now, of course, this has been done like last 10-15 years. Okay, they are facing huge challenge on the scale. Of course, there is a security and compliance issue as well. So what we are doing with that customer is understanding the existing data requirements, what is required in the target ecosystem, and how can we accelerate it? Because if you implement this migration, let's say, to BDC or data sphere, and replicate all of data, you're talking about 2, 3, 4 years of doing assessment, implementation, testing. It might not align with your S4 program as well, right? So leveraging automation and proven methodology to migrate is one thing, and second is leveraging data product from BDC ecosystem to provide that data required for cloud ecosystem is another way to dispose of the legacy extractors into what is the cost effective way to provide that data to for consumption.
It's certainly a data extraction itself is is a very complex area for customers. And as you say, some have got a huge amount of data extractors running today. But what we're saying is not only does that need to change, but you've opportunities to massively simplify that as well.
Yes, yes. And if you see, I'll take another example, for the another risk and challenge is rise in as for remediation, because this customer is a industry supplier in North America, and they have built in their own custom extractors to pull in data. So imagine ABAP code written, which basically pulls in data, combine data set together, and then provide to cloud data ecosystem on the downstream system, right? And for this customer, they are going to Rise, they are going to S4. So impact is like huge on the downstream system because data structure is changing. You know, how you do finance in ECC versus, in S4, by having like AC Doka table, and building that across into cloud ecosystem is a huge challenge. So how can we leverage? So with this customer, you need to do S4 mapping, first of all, that what data is required for your insight generation from ECC, and map it to what would be the right way to pull data from S4. Majorly, best practices to pull data from CDS views, for example. But not only that, do we need all of data replicated? Or let's use managed data product which SAP provides, because out of the box data products are available from S4, and then use a very important feature of BDC, which is a zero copy. Zero copy is basically, rather than replicating the data, can I access data where the data resides? So if data product is resides in BDC, can I access directly from there? And it's vice versa, right? So Databricks, Snowflake, and other ecosystem can directly have data exchange without copying data from BDC to Databricks, or Databricks to BDC, for example. So this has become another, if from risk and challenges point of view, it's huge effort. It's unless until you have a proven methodology and acceleration and how you do it, it is a huge risk for the S4 program as well.
Understood. And then, of course, as you're modernizing, you have to think about the old stuff as well, and what you're
Yes.
leaving behind, and how you safely remove that.
Yes, yes. And that's where the third risk comes into picture, right? Consolidating multiple data ecosystem is a multi-year journey, right? You need to, so working with customers, for example, power utility, right? They have got non-SAP data, sensor data coming from transformers, for example, which basically provides point in time measures, right? But their assets are in SAP, right? The equipment, the transformer data, details of that is in SAP. Now, building a use case which, about prediction of transformation failure requires data from ECC, from S4, from S4, and from the sensors. Where do you combine? And sensor data is huge. It's unstructured data. Where do you combine all of this? Their current ecosystem is BW. They're already on S4. They have got SQL Server warehouse where they consolidate some of the data. They've got multiple data sources. They do not have a cloud ecosystem right now. Now, having these legacy ecosystem, BW and SQL Server consolidated, is a multi-year journey, right? So, and you need to have a right kind of architecture built, and there is a lot of technical debt involved as well, right? So what we are working with that customer is, first of all, building a blueprint of what does the ecosystem, to be ecosystem, look like. What are the business use cases they have? This transformation failure or prediction is a use case. How do you better align, how can I generate that predictive failure faster? And how can we build at an IT layer an hybrid ecosystem, which is cloud data ecosystem, for example, let's say Databricks, leveraging BDC data products, so it automatically have assets data built up in BDC, sensor data coming from the cloud ecosystem, and you can generate an ML model, machine learning model, in SAP Databricks or Databricks for that prediction. So this aligning or alignment of use cases and priorities help drive that data ecosystem and North Star data ecosystem, what we term.
Okay, so kind of replaying that then, ultimately having a good idea of what you're moving to, obviously helps you map what you have today, but you've got to make sure that everything's got an answer from today. Either you stop using it, it maps cleanly to a new target, or you're going to deal with it a different way. Um, and ultimately, I guess that all of these risks and challenges, I suppose, are reasonably common across all transformations, but there's a lot of detail here. And what have you seen that's out there to help manage that detail and get around that with the methodology, et cetera, that you talked about at the end?
Yes, it is definitely there is a lot of detail in it, and if you take this as example, 50 to 60% technical debt in BW, for example, we have seen across the customer, this technical debt. How do you identify? Customers have got a large ecosystem. Some of the customers we have got, like the FMCG customer I was talking to, they've got 18 terabyte, 12 terabyte BW legacy code built over 10, 20 years. Is it easy to assess? You can assess at a high level what objects are not used, but what about the criticality of a report? What about going into down in the code, what is written? What about going down into data? Right, that's where some of the accelerators and methodology, for example, Lemongrass has something called BW Insights. We have stitched together end-to-end lineage from consumption, whether you consume insights, reports in Power BI or Tableau or Bex queries, back to the granular level data source. And not only that at object level, but at a field level. So this insights not only provide you immediately the usage statistics and where exactly your debt lies, plus it also helps you with the S4 impact assessment,
Hmm.
right? So that gives a very powerful way to shrink down that phase of 12 months to 6 months to 12 months for assessment to, let's say, 2 months, okay, or
Hmm.
8 weeks. And we have seen this, that you can do it for multiple customers because it's all automated. You can take on all the landscape details and generate these insights. So this is where I think a proven methodology and accelerators help, de-risk your S4 program timeline from analytics point of view.
No, very good. And actually, that's I think that makes a lot of sense. That a lot of these patterns have been seen before. Um, and the more projects that happen, the more knowledge that gets built up. And even with the benefit of AI, you can make these mappings much easier to be flexible and to give the output. Okay, so just recapping then, Maya, because we get towards the end here. We've looked at the fact that there's a fundamental shift in the evolution of the data solutions, and AI is right in the middle of that. That there's value, huge value in the business to get insights using Gen AI faster, but it does require ownership of the data. A message we've heard in the past, but this even increases the urgency of that. And that while that transformation, has a number of challenges that are reasonably well known, there are approaches and techniques you can apply to get to that. I suppose in summary, what would be your main message to any listener? Like, what should they do today to start on their transformation journey and to start prepping for taking advantage of this new capability of BDC?
So I think that comes down to the last point of adoption of BDC or new cloud data analytics platform, right? If we categorize this, from people, process, and technology point of view, people needs to be cross-trained. People coming from BW backgrounds to adopting to the new ecosystem. So there is a cross skills training required here. From processes point of view, how you do deployments in BW, for example, and how do you do it in more cloud way now because BDC is on cloud or BTP platform, and integration with CI/CD, processes, and integration with monitoring and orchestration tools. That's where enterprise readiness comes into picture. So customers should think about that. How do we integrate with the existing processes to become more enterprise from BDC? And last is the processes. Sorry, last is the technology point of view. Technology itself is changed, right? How BW is in a more layered architecture, how the technology architecture is in BDC from products point of view. You need to work very closely with business to provide them the right data products for consumption.
Okay, great. No, I think that, I mean, that's always a nice way to sort of summarize is in those three different dimensions. So I think there's some things that people could be taking action on today. For sure, SAP account teams are always happy to chat to customers about BDC and where this is all going. And I'm sure if anybody wants to chat to Mike, they can reach out to us. But Mike, I just want to finish off by thanking you for your time today, and thank you for your insights. I mean, I know we could talk all day about this. There's so much more
Yeah.
detail we could drop into, but I appreciate this is a quick podcast today. So just a run through at a high level. But again, thanks for your time, and thanks to all the listeners for tuning in again. And look forward to speaking to you on the next episode of Lemongrass Roots.